Now, one thing that you need to notice is that when you reduce the markup, it means that, and you'll notice that the markup was 65% for the budgeted, but the actual markup is 45%. Now, the advantage of reducing your markup is that it will reduce your selling price. And when you reduce your selling price, it means your product will be cheaper. Therefore, more people will buy it. That's why you will notice that for the number of units sold, for the budgeted, it was going to be 7,080 units. And for the actual, it is 11,470 units, resulting in an increase of 4,390 units. And that is because you dropped your markup. Your markup will increase sales. And the question is, the markup obviously it's 45%. It means that you will generate 45% profits for whatever you sell. So it'll increase your gross profit. And that's why you'll notice your gross profit has increased by 27,966. And now they spoke about advertising. Now, what is the disadvantage? Your advertising, you estimated it was 40,000, but they ended up spending 28,000. And one thing I can tell you is that try to do these amounts as percentages. Try to write them as percentages, because percentages will tell you whether the percentage was high or not. Okay. Now, what is the advantage of advertising? One advantage of advertising is that advertising increases sales. Okay, so this person did one good thing by dropping the markup, which increases sales, but they made a mistake of reducing advertising, because advertising does actually increase sales. So now, when you don't expose your product, people won't know about it, and therefore you will not have too much sales. Now you will note that advertising dropped by around 12,000. But when you look at gross profit is 27,966. So it's still achieved what you needed to do, because 27,000, it's twice 12,000. Now, one person can say, this person will have generated more profits had they invested more money in advertising. So one thing, guys, you should never take for granted is that you shouldn't sell your products at too high prices. At the same time, make sure you spend as much money as you can on advertising. Okay. Advertising exposes you to more people. You need to sell your product. All right. So I don't think reducing advertising was a good move. It could have resulted in them selling more, probably twice what they sold. Because advertising does actually, it's the biggest contributor to sales. Good. Now, question here was that a good move? According to me, yes, it was a good move. It was a good move. However, I'm not happy with advertising. You cannot reduce your advertising expense. But based on the gross profit that they've generated, it was honestly a very good move. All right. And this is what your memo said. Might say something that is totally different from what I just said earlier on. Actually, it doesn't. Okay. It says that sales of 4,390 units more than budgeted of 7,080 units to 11,470 units. So your sales increased by 62%. That's why I said write them as percentages, because it will make your life a little bit easy. I actually used the all part. Sales exceeded the budget by 247,446 from 584,100 to 831,546. All right. So I used actual amounts. I didn't use figures from my discussion earlier on. And then they said gross profit obviously is more than budgeted by 27,966, which is good. And well, it doesn't matter whether cost of sales increased or not. The fact is that your gross profit increased, which takes into account your cost of sales. And that's why I said I'm not happy with underspending on advertising. And they say it's not as significant, but you won't know if it was significant or not until you have spent that money and see how much your sales will be. But if your sales will have reached will have increased by 100% or 200% because of advertising. that would have been a significant move. So we wouldn't know because that 12,000 wasn't spent. But so far, we know that what contributed to sales increase was a drop in the selling price. Okay, people most of the time wants to generate a lot of large profits at once. And know that you can generate a lot of profit by making small margins of profits but selling more units. And that's what most people are doing. That's why in the township, tuck shops are closing down because people don't want to make small profits. And people that are entering those markets are people that are interested in making small amounts of profits, but because they sell more, they generate more profits, driving those that are making their products more expensive. Note that drop in selling price increases the demand. People will buy for as long as you reduce your selling price. When you sell at a cheaper price, it will increase, your demand will increase. I did that once. If you watch my previous video, I spoke about selling scones at school to my students. And what I did is that at some point, it was a Friday, I had around 10 packets that I didn't sell. I think it was something was happening that day at school. And I couldn't take 10 packets home because I can't sell them on Monday, right? I mean, imagine me having baked them on Friday and then have to keep them for 3 more nights so that I can sell them on Monday. That was not a good move. So I had to make sure that before I leave, I sell out those units. So what I did is that I decided I used to sell them for 10 rand. So I decided to sell three for 10 rand, meaning that you buy two, you get one free. And a lot of students just bought, even those that never bought cakes, they came to buy just because I was selling them at a cheaper price. And I realized that the reason why I was selling them at a cheaper price was to get rid of them. But when I was trying to get rid of them, I was introducing the products to people that have never tasted it. So sometimes when businesses sell goods at discounted prices, it is not always because they want to get rid of them. Sometimes it's because they want to increase the demand. Trust me, there were students that actually bought scones for the first time. I mean, these kids grew up in the burbs. So some of them have never tasted scones, right? And some of them was the first time. They always see this by the traffic lights, but they've never really bought them. And they realize, oh, actually, this is nice. And trust me, on the following Monday, when I brought more packets of scones, I actually sold around 20 packets in an hour. They were all gone, all of them. And that is because I reduced the price. So by reducing the price, you're not just increasing, getting rid of the product, but you are increasing the demand for that product. And when you make your product cheaper, you also will have a chance to introduce it to people that have never bought from you and that have never even thought of buying from you. Now, these are the skills that I'm teaching to my grade nines up to 12. And these are the skills that I'm teaching them in high school. And some people got those skills when they started working, started opening up their own businesses. Fortunately, I was stopped from selling, so I don't know how I'm gonna because it was a practical experience. It was a practical experience. I'm showing them the real business world of how sometimes you have to create demand. And that's what Steve Jobs did. I mean, there were cell phones when Steve Jobs came with Apple, and he created a demand for Apple. There was no demand for cell phones. I mean, people had Samsungs, had Nokias, and everything. There was no demand for cell phones. But he made Apple so attractive, and he created a demand for a luxury cell phone. And he created it. There was no demand for it, but he created it. My point is sometimes when people do their market research, they want to find out what people want. Sometimes when you create your market research, you create what you think people will want. And that's what Steve Jobs did. He created what he thinks people will want and he sold it to people. And didn't it work? Did it not work? I mean, he died being one of the richest men in the world. You got it. So sometimes you don't look for existing demand, you just create it, and which is what I did as well. There was no demand for my scones at school. Um, they were more interested in burgers, what do you call those things, sandwich and stuff, and all of that. And I was like, you know what? Um, I'm from the township, this tastes good. And I'm 100% sure that some of these kids have never really tasted this. Let me try it out. And I tried it out. And when I started, I used to give them for free. Like I'll sell only 5 packets and give the rest for free. I knew that if I give the rest for free, the other one won't, no one person can eat 10 cakes at once. I knew that they were going to share with their friends and they finally like, this is nice. And they tried and the demand just went out of control to the point where I was now selling like 50 packets in a day. So it took long. It took long for me to create that demand. It was not overnight. And business, and what I'm trying to, and I use these examples in class, it's to showcase that business is difficult, but you can make it. You have to be patient. You have to be creative. You have to find a way to increase the demand. You have no choice. You need to make sure that you succeed. And that's not an option. Just like passing, it's not an option. If you really, before you can start your own business and whatever, you need to get proper education. Whether you want to go into entertainment, whether you want to go wherever, you need to get proper education. It exercises your mind. It will help you make good decisions in the future. And according to me, everyone should be doing accounting because we have high unemployment rates in South Africa. People are not starting up businesses. People aren't relying on getting jobs while the kids start their own businesses. And that's one of the skills that I'm trying to teach. And if you have a smart young sister or brother, bring them to Veritas College and I will gladly do that. Teach them how to run businesses. Teach them about property, what makes more money in the real world out there. They shouldn't be going out there to look for jobs. They should be creating their own jobs. Okay. Now, 3.5.1 says explain why Juanita should be concerned about the actual amount spent on repairs and maintenance during October 2022. Okay. Let me go back. Look for repairs. Repairs. Look at the difference. Now, guys, when it comes to repairs and maintenance, you'll realize that it dropped by 22,000. Now, what is the disadvantage of not maintaining your assets? There's a good example, guys. There's a good example. Did lights go out? That is the example that I was talking about. The reason why Eskom is in the problem that is in right now, it's because it did not maintain or repair its substations and transformers. If you don't, remember, an asset is a resource that you use to generate money. And if that resource cannot be used efficiently because it has breakdown, it will affect how you generate your money. And that's why the Eskom is in the problem that is in right now. And it'll start breaking down and it'll affect your cash flows, which is what's happening to Eskom. And because of the breakdowns and the load shedding, it affected its cash flow. Whoever thought in South Africa people will be buying generators and solar panels? That money that went to buy generators, solar panels, and diesel was supposed to have gone to Eskom. I remember when I was at varsity, everyone wanted to go and work at Eskom. And now who wants to go and work at Eskom? But it also exposes you to the fact that businesses, we need to separate businesses from politics. Businesses must be ran like businesses. That was a business for the state. And it benefited a lot of people that were working there. But how many people lost jobs. And remember, government is the biggest employer in South Africa. And if you break down such businesses like your Eskom is gone, Transnet is gone, Post Office is gone, um, and that is because the right people were not employed. And I feel like even the education system will go because there's just corruption everywhere. And people don't look at the future. They don't realize that they're destroying. And that's what they did at Eskom. It was just a small thing. I know this 20 million was supposed to go and fix a substation. Let's chow it. They didn't see at the future as to what their actions will result in. And their actions resulted in ANC has a high chance of losing more than 50% of the votes. So even they ate so much, they can't, even their kids won't have enough to eat anymore. And they could have been smart about this. They were supposed, you just use the money where it's supposed to be used. And I'm not saying that not gonna be here and be an angel and say that people shouldn't be stealing money. They do steal money in Europe. Morrison and Donald Trump stole money. They do that. But my point is, do things. If you are given a tender to build a road that is worth 20 million, build that road. At least then say that, oh, I built that road for 25 million. But the road is there and it's in good quality, worth 20 million. And then you can just say, ah, that's 5 million, you know. But the thing is, you have built the road. Now imagine eating the whole, that's what South African politicians, that's why education goes a long way. They take the whole 25 million and eat it, and there's no road. And they forget that they have kids that have to feed from that, you know. And then and some other powerful ones that were too selfish and they knew that their kids will go to good schools. They can take them to your Dubais, they can take them to England, they can take them to America. They really didn't care about the kids, and that's what's happening in the education system. People now, to get a job as an educator, you have to pay a bribe to someone. Wrong people are becoming principals, and that whole thing is affecting the whole education system, and at the end it will crumble down, and that's what will happen. Seems like nobody cares. And that's what this person did by not spending much money on repairs and maintenance. And also repairs and maintenance. If you realize that, I was spending 30,000, I've been spending 30,000 on this asset to fix or repair this asset. And all of a sudden you're spending 60,000. That is also a sign. It's a sign that your asset is breaking down. Probably you need to look at other options, which is buying another asset. You will do this cost and benefits when you get to second year level, when you do management accounting. So repairs are very, very important. I don't think they should have decreased it by that because it's very, very important in you generating revenue. Okay, I started talking a lot and I have so much. Paper two is so interesting, and I don't feel like anyone should be getting such questions wrong because they give it a reality of what happens out there. Um, Now, underspend on maintenance by whatever I spoke about that is too low. This could affect long run, and I spoke about the reason why we have load shedding in South Africa is because when you neglect maintenance, your assets will break down, therefore affecting your profits, and that's why Eskom is generating losses. So make sure that you maintain your assets all the time. Okay. If you have a company vehicle, make sure you service it all the time because that will affect your future profits. And which is, I'm giving you real examples. It's happening to Eskom right now. It is happening to Eskom. And that's why we're having these load shedding problems. It's not because of money issues, it's because wrong people employed to the right jobs. I hope that makes sense. No, you don't mix politics with business. And that's why it's tumbling down. Okay, let's move on. And for 3.5.2 says that James feels that there has been a lack of control over the amount spent on delivery expenses and packing material. Explain whether James' opinion is correct or not. Let us check those expenses. Delivery expenses. Probably these delivery expenses will also have to do with the fact that okay, let me just deal with this more than anything. They increased by 7,850. And when you look at your delivery expenses, they increased by 7,000, but also notice that your sales increased by 4,390, and resulting in sales increasing by 247,446. I don't know what was happening around October 2022, but you realize that fuel prices have been going up ever since the Russia war started. And that's what you can bring into this, that could have been the result why your delivery expenses are too high. But note that considering that our sales increased by 247,446. I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, the more we sell, the more we spend on delivery cost. I hope that makes sense. And probably this person had to buy bigger trucks, use or travel more to deliver these goods to customers. And I don't know about complaining about delivery expenses, because if you deliver goods to customers, it's an expense. You actually charge customers for that. So customers will pay for it. You don't pay for it as a business. You make your customers pay for it. So ultimately, you actually don't lose. So I don't think that's the biggest problem ever. Okay. And I think it's very reasonable. I don't think there's any corruption taking place. And if there's corruption taking place, then everything needs to be monitored. You need to make sure that you monitor it. How many times does although deliveries come to the business, what is the distance traveled and so on? Were goods delivered on time, or did they go somewhere else? All of those things, you can actually record them and make sure that you keep the records. And obviously, if this delivery truck went somewhere else and they were supposed to deliver within 2 hours, that you can actually report it to Aldo Deliveries, that actually it looks like your people were spending money, my petrol money that I paid for somewhere else, instead of delivering goods to customers. And you hear this when customers start complaining. So we don't have really much information about that. So I don't think there's any wrongdoing there. But let's hear what your memo has to say. The delivery costs were well maintained. That's what I've said. Service provider was able to operate more efficiently in spite of increased sales. That's what I spoke about. Delivery expenses is 22.4% more than budgeted, but units sold is more than budgeted. I spoke about that. When you compare 22 to 62%, it's way too low. Delivery cost per unit was only 3 Rand, and right now I think it's around 4 Rand for the budgeted and stuff. So it went down. Budgeted for 6%. So delivery per unit, guys, you just take your delivery cost, you divide them by the number of units that you sold. Okay, because it's based on the number of units sold. Budgeted 6% of sales, actual was 5.2% of sales. So please note that it wasn't really that bad. And then they gave you options here. I think I spoke about everything there. And then about packing material, obviously packing material, I expect them to go up because we sold a lot. So I don't think there is anything wrong as well when it comes to packing material. And that's what your memo said. And in 3.6, they said Juanita wants to use social media to create an online shopping platform to increase its sales from January 2023. Name 3 additional payments that must be included in the January 2023 budget. I'm just going to check what expenses they've included here so that I don't mention what has already been included. Obviously, delivery expenses will go up. Online exposes you to more clients. It'll increase sales. So you will need to spend more on delivering. You need to spend more on advertising because some people have never heard about your product. So you need to consider advertising on YouTube, Google ads and stuff so people can know, because your main aim is to get online customers, and you have to use online platform to get those customers. You need someone that will be responsible for your orders. Maybe you will need to buy a new computer system. You need to buy backups because there's load shedding in South Africa. You can't be experiencing backup problems. You need to have what do we call those people? What designers? Okay, that design they are in charge of your software. You need to make sure your software is on point. You need to make sure that you have a good Wi-Fi all the time, even when there's load shedding. That's why I said you need to invest in solar panels, generators to make sure that you're still able to respond. And you might have to buy that vehicle. She might have to buy that vehicle so that they can deliver more to customers. It has to come up with I'm talking about my online tutoring business right now. Basically, what I'm giving all these points, the things, obviously, the assets that you never thought you needed, that you will need when you start your online business. Please check out my previous video where I did the November IEB exam because I specified the online expenses that were never there and you have to income. I know you've been told that IEB and GDE are different or DBE are different. According to me, guys, accounting, it's accounting, okay? To me, they're all the same as a matter of fact. Yeah. I'm trying to think. You need, what designers? What do we call those people? We don't call them software designers. Ah, they focus on your image, the image of the business, online, your website is on point, the prices there are on point. Geez, I forgot. I forgot what we call those people. Obviously, you create a more market, so you need to spend more, as I've said, on deliveries, advertising, exposing your products to different people, using different social medias, and the people that can help you. You need a person that can advertise, that knows how to advertise using the social media, because it's different from advertising, the actual advertising where you advertise to people that are around your business. It's totally different. And those are the expenses that you should consider when you start a business. And those are the expenses that Juanita will need to consider as well before she goes online. Let's see what they said here. Okay, I spoke about that. Oh, salaries for drivers, assistants, IT technicians, staff, packaging costs will go up as well. Insurance will go up. You need to train your staff or probably even hire more staff. You have software construction costs, websites design. I spoke about that. Um, yeah, additional advertising. I spoke about it. Oh, and then we have IT. Obviously, you might have to spend more on your IT products as well, like buying computers and other things. Okay. This is not for IEB students. This is for GDE students. You can check out this question. GDE, DBE students. You can check out this question. Obviously, it's all about the bank reconciliation statement. It's pretty similar to creditor's reconciliation statement for IEB students. Check this out, and you just have to answer this and that and that. Alrighty. This was a nice lesson. Thank you for watching. And yeah, shout out to Pretoria. Wow, the views from Pretoria this week has been on another level. I wonder what's happening next week. There must be something happening next week. It's prelims or something. Thank you so much, Pretoria, for supporting. The views from Pretoria are crazy. I see Cape Town is also catching up. Cape Town and then Durban. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and let your friends know about this cool accounting channel. Awesome.